Welcome everybody. Cameras are everything but complicated. At the end of the day, it's just a tool that takes a picture. And today, with my fiance Karina, I want to break it down and show you how easy it is to take pictures. And at the end of the video, I will explain why I chose my exposure triangle to be the way that it was at this shoot today. So yeah, stick around to see my explanation and to learn if you're new to photography. So yeah, let's get right into it. Let's take some beautiful portraits of Karina right here. We got our inspiration off of Pinterest, so yeah, we're gonna be shooting to the back of this train station, and yeah, let's get right into it. All right, that is looking beautiful. Let's adjust my f-stop, and let's take the first one right here. That looks beautiful. Yes, just the way you're posing right now is beautiful. Maybe lean back a bit with this shoulder. Yeah, that's beautiful. I would just be shooting and shooting. You're doing a great job. Obviously Karina is an experienced model, so that's why I don't have to tell her a lot. Basically nothing. I just need to tell her to keep going because she's doing great. Yeah, just keep looking into the distance. That's looking awesome. Let me up my ISO here because I'm really liking this picture with all of the background blur. Yes, just keep looking into that direction. Yes, that is awesome. All right, that's awesome. So for this set of pictures, I just wanted a clean and simple portrait, no wild poses, no wild angles from my side. And yeah, let's go to that automaten dot, and we're going to try some more pictures live with you guys. So let's see if we can do something. Maybe you should lean against it. Yes, that's awesome. It's looking very moody. I'm liking it so far. Wait, right, that's the first picture, but I would love more depth, so I'm going to go to this direction right here. Gotta take a couple steps back. Can you open your eyes a bit more, if that's possible? Yeah, I got it. Okay, so let's just switch to this side. You can stay there. You can stay right there. So I'm liking these pictures, but I have something up my sleeve. Wait. And that's my Pro Mist filter, because I do want these pictures to be a bit more moody than they already are. And of course a lot of it is done in editing, but still I'm gonna be taking some pictures with that as soon as Karina has done her hair. Right, that's beautiful. So let's see what else we can do. Yes, that's beautiful though. Can you turn your head a bit more so your eyes can get some light? That's awesome. Yes, so these are really close up, but I just want to highlight her face, and the reflection is also looking very... Can you just tilt your head again into the light a bit? Yes. Okay, no, that's too dark, but that is awesome, and this is looking very good to me. Even though this is still all in raw with nothing edited, but just her being very beautiful, me not being the worst photographer alive, and the sun acting as the key role here. As you've seen, taking photos is actually pretty simple once you've got the hang of it, and to get the hang of it, you only have to understand your exposure triangle. Once I'm speaking from experience, once I had understood that, it was very easy to go to like learn more and just be a better photographer and actually start shooting. So I will be wrapping up the shoot. Thank you, Karina, you did a great job. Pictures look amazing in raw. We are going to take them into the editing process and going to put the final touches on it before posting them onto social media. And I will be explaining how I chose my exposure triangle, and for all new photographers, just being a stepping stone to being a better photographer, and to finally stop all the binge watching on YouTube and actually go out and start taking pictures. So yeah, let's go and edit those pictures right now. All right, so we just made it home. This is the first picture that we're taking a look at, and I will just transfer everything and sort everything out with Karina, and then we're going to get right into the editing. Let's go. Out of the 50 photos that we shot today, 14 have made it to the final selection, and I will be editing them the next day. So yeah, let's see what we can do. So with this photo, first thing, obviously we are going to be posting that on Instagram, and I will want it in this aspect ratio on 4:5, since the outfit is not really that interesting. And the second thing, I always adjust my temperature second, because most of the time I'm shooting in automatic white balance. So this photo is way too cold, so we are just going to bring some warm. Now the first thing I'm noticing is it's way too bright, so let's pull down the highlights so we can recover her face a bit. And the photo overall is also not moody enough, so let's turn down the overall exposure and bring back some of these highlights. The hair could use some more detail, so we're just going to pull that up. Maybe let's see if we can push it even more. We can, and just to get the blacks back a bit but keep the details, just going to pull the blacks down a bit. So yeah, I do think that the photo is a bit too sharp. Pull a bit away from the contrast and just double check. We are going to dehaze the image a bit, which is making it look quite awful, but we're going to pull that back down right here. We are getting more and more away from this mirrorless, sharp looking photos, which I don't really like too much myself. While going down, I do want to go and adjust my grain settings, but while doing that, I do want to make her lips look a bit darker. So we're just going to go to the color right here and just pull down the luminance. Liking that quite so far, probably gonna adjust that later on as well. So color grading we do want to do, but first of all, before adjusting the colors and everything and the grading, we do want to get of course our lens corrections in. Very important, just always enable that. And then we do want to go into the grain settings, pull up the grain. I always like zooming into the face so that I get less of a digital feel to it, you know. All in all, we're doing pretty fine. We are going to need a vignette, and then we can feather in everything, and we don't want it we don't want it to not be noticeable, but also we don't want to notice it. So this is looking quite good. Not really seeing a vignette right there, but it does help the overall photo focus more on the face. We do want to get some greens into it, so we can go and play with the tint. A lot of the times when I do edit my pictures, it's enough when I adjust my tint. So a lot of times I don't even have to go into the colors and stuff. I don't know, -5 is looking pretty nice. So now we want to go into the colors, and the first thing that I'm seeing again is this light right here could be a bit warmer, and I would really love that to be the case. So I'm just going to go into my highlights, get a bit more of a reddish tone in right there, which is shaping her face to be even more beautiful. What if I go into the blues, make like the darker parts a bit colder, the shadows obviously, with the orange on the highlights. This is looking very balanced to me, which I am liking. Yeah, what I am noticing is that we have a bit too much texture in her face. So what I will be doing is I will be going to the texture, pulling down the texture some, and the quality, and we have already dehazed the image. So my thing is I don't want the image to be too sharp, but I still want to keep her freckles. So that's why we need to make a mask, which is extremely easy with all these AI. Look at this, look how quick I got her face masked out. Okay, so this is quite a lot, so let's just tune it down a bit and back again. Yeah, it's getting quite some of her freckles out again, which I'm loving. What if we turn up the clarity? Yeah, clarity is doing quite some heavy lifting. Maybe get some contrast in her face. This is looking very good. So what I did right there is just have her freckles, her features be noticeable, even though the picture is pretty much washed out with the hair. Maybe get the blacks a bit darker, maybe get the overall image a bit darker as well, maybe push the highlights just a little. I'm liking my image right here quite a lot, and to be honest, the only thing that I would have to double check before posting the image is obviously to just go and clean up more imperfections. All right, I'm already home. It's been a day. I have already edited one picture. Now I want to explain to you guys the exposure triangle. It is really not that complicated, and I'm going to use this photo as an example to explain it to you. Let's start with the definition. To me, it's simple. The exposure triangle are 3 settings that you have to understand to be able to always dial in your settings the way you need it to be. So let's start with the ISO. Basically, all that it does is higher or lower the sensitivity of your sensor towards light. The higher it is, the more light you're going to have. The lower you put your ISO, the darker the image should be getting, because the sensor is capturing less light information. One thing to remember is the higher it is, the more ISO. So basically, the more light you want when you're adjusting your ISO, the higher your noise is going to be, your noise level. So that's all that you got to remember. Noise nowadays isn't really a thing anymore since we've got all these denoising options. So yeah, don't really worry about that. And the second thing would be shutter speed. When thinking about shutter speed, all that you have to remember, in my opinion, is the more motion you want to capture, the higher your shutter speed has to be. The less motion you want to capture, the lower it has to be. And the same thing with the shutter as with the ISO. So basically, if you want to catch a fast car driving by, you need to put your ISO really, really high. If you're doing still photography in a studio environment with not a lot moving, or you have your camera on a tripod, you can put it lower depending on how you have to adjust your camera ISO, f-stop and shutter speed. Maybe you need to compensate for a bit more light with the shutter speed, or vice versa. So yeah, basically the more motion, the higher; the less motion, less higher you can have it. And also remember, when you're upping your shutter speed, you are going to pay with a little bit of brightness on your image, because the camera sensor, I don't want to get too technical, but the camera sensor, the shutter is going to be closing quicker so that it can capture the motion faster. So the quicker the shutter actually is, the less light is going to go in, be let onto your sensor, and that way you're not going to have a lot of light, a lot of brightness. So remember that when adjusting the shutter speed. And lastly, the f-stop, and that I think is the easiest. Basically with the f-stop, the more you want to have in focus, the higher you put your f-stop, and the less you want to have in focus, or you have to have in focus, or if you want to have something blurred, you just put it lower. So just remember, you want everything to be in focus, like in landscape photography. Put it up to f16, f11, I don't know, depending on your subject that you have. For example, when doing portraits, a lot of the time you want to have a beautiful background blur, so you just put it really, really low. And if the image is too bright, you adjust your shutter speed, you put your ISO down. At the end of the day, the exposure triangle is not a triangle just for fun. It is a triangle because all of these settings, they work in harmony, and you cannot adjust the one without adjusting the other, or at least keeping it in the back of your mind. So yeah, that is pretty much all that there is to the exposure triangle. You have your ISO for your light, you have your shutter speed for your motion, and you have your f-stop for what is in focus. If you want me to break it down even better, just let me know down below. Otherwise, we are going to be looking at the photo that I have edited right here. So let's apply all that I've explained to this photo, or let's see how I have applied it when shooting. So let's start with the shutter speed in this photo. Most of the time I adjust my shutter speed first. I need to be capturing the motion. So in this photo shoot right there, the model Karina was moving a bit. I was moving a bit as well. So just from experience, I know that with a shutter speed of 1/200th of a second, I will have everything not be blurred. I will have it sharp enough if I have adjusted my f-stop accordingly. So just from experience, I know that at 1/200th of a second, if both subjects are moving a bit, it is enough for a situation like this. We're taking a portrait to have everything in focus, everything, the motion captured, and not have any blur from the camera shaking, from me moving, or the model moving. So that's why 1/200th of a second applied to this image works well. Let's keep going with the f-stop. The f-stop is at f5.6. Why is it that number? It is that number because I did want everything to be clear in focus, and I didn't wanna have everything blurred out completely, so you can't even see it. That would have been the case with f-stop of 2.8. So with an f-stop of 5.6, even though I am shooting at 45 millimeters, this photo does show the background a bit. Still, we do have some blur. That's mostly from the compression of the lens and me being relatively close to the subject, but in the end it does make a very beautiful photo. If I wanted more background blur, I would have dialed down the f-stop to an f2.8. That was possible with this lens, and most likely I would have put my ISO down even more and adjusted my shutter speed to be a bit higher, so that the image wouldn't be too bright. When talking about brightness and such, it's not even that important, because nowadays you can have an image really over and underexposed, because we are shooting in RAW, capturing a lot of quality, and in the end we can always bring it back. So it's not even that interesting, but still, just try to get the best settings in camera right from the get-go. Let's talk about the ISO last. So the ISO, why do we talk about it last? The reason is I always adjust ISO last because it's not really the most important setting on the camera. Because first you want to be able to not have your sensor be blurring everything because the shutter speed is too low, and maybe you don't want to capture all the motion, so then you just shutter speed first, and or your f-stop, because your f-stop does determine whether you are going to have your subject in focus or out of focus. So that's why shutter speed then f-stop matters the most. ISO, I adjust it always accordingly to if I need more light or if I need less light. It's pretty easy and self-explanatory, and in this case at ISO 200 in camera looked pretty good, and it does look pretty good in the end result as well. So yeah, that's right about it. There is nothing more to the exposure triangle, and we've also applied it to a practical example, and I really hope that this helped you guys. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. I can break it down even more scientifically. I can break it down just more in depth, explaining the ISO exactly, maybe also showcasing it live. We can do all of that. Just let me know in the comments down below, and we'll be going on a live stream right now and be editing all of the pictures and also editing the YouTube video. So if you guys want to see that, the live stream is linked down below of this video, and I will be doing more of these live streams, so subscribe and stick around, and see you guys, talk to you guys in the next one.